All right. So now that the recording is started, I just want to say again, welcome, welcome, welcome to the Career Center Refresher, and we're going to get going.
And so it's just a pleasure to be here with all of you. I see some familiar faces and some new faces. So, really glad to be in this space with all of you and just appreciate you taking the time, knowing that it's busy as we're getting ready for the semester to kick in. And again, I hope everyone's staying safe in the weather today. We wanted to start off just with some grounding in our philosophy because we really think this sets the tone for all the work that we do at the Career Center. And we embrace this philosophy of career everywhere for everyone. And what we mean by that is that we really utilize and recognize an ecosystem approach to this work. We know that career conversations are happening everywhere. They're happening across campus. They're happening in classrooms. They're happening in student groups. They're happening over lunch. They're happening in all spaces. So our goal as a career center is not to be the gatekeepers of this knowledge. We really want to bring everyone in and have this be a university wide effort because we believe that that's going to be the most holistic approach to supporting as many students as possible. And we know that, our career center, we have a lot of really wonderful, talented, knowledgeable people. And the rest of Duke is filled with the same. So we really want to leverage all of the talent and the knowledge across the institution for the benefit of our students because we all have the same goal, right? They're here to get a phenomenal, high quality education and go out into the world and find meaningful work. So with that shared goal that we have, we can all work together. The idea of kind of grounding things in this philosophy is that we're using some consistent messaging. Not that you're going to use the same language necessarily as the Career Center, but just that there's consistency so that students are, they're not getting confused. They understand that everybody is kind of operating from the same foundation and that we're all moving towards the same goal. So again, we appreciate you being here as a part of this ecosystem. This is a wonderful step to being a part of that. We'll talk about other ways that you can become more involved as we go through the slide deck. But just a quick overview of kind of who we are and what we believe in.
All right. So you got a sense of our philosophy, and these are essentially our guideposts. So the three guiding principles that you see on the screen here are very, very, very important to the work that we do. I will pause and give you a second to just sort of skim this page, and then I'll talk a little bit about why I think that's really helpful. All right. So in this case, the most important thing that I would love to impress upon you is that for us, we are trying to build resources, support systems, and infrastructure that helps our students who are currently enrolled at Duke get to the spaces that they want to get to, achieve the level of success that they'd like to, reach the job or company that they hope to. And we'll talk a little bit about what that means. But for us, of course, relevancy is really important. So we're paying attention to a lot of these national and sometimes global trends. What's happening on the ground? How can we arm our students with the knowledge, information, and understanding that will allow them to, again, navigate this process, that student to professional process, as smoothly as possible? Visibility, in some ways, I consider it self-explanatory, but I like to highlight that for us, or I'll speak for myself in this case, but I know we all would agree on this, is I'm always changing and refining. How am I getting the word out? What am I trying to do to market? What are the ways that I can make sure that the things that I need students to see, or I hope students see, is in front of them in a way that they can appreciate it and understand it? And last but not least, again, inclusivity. Of course, we can think about a lot of great examples of what inclusive work looks like, but one extension of this idea is really trying to think about accessibility in that frame as well. So, of course, we have a lot of great resources. We have a lot of things that we think students should benefit from, but it doesn't matter if when they get there, they're confused. They don't know where to go next. They don't know how to really leverage all the rich resources and opportunities that we articulate and provide. So for us, these are our guideposts. Like 9 times out of 10, we're talking about, okay, we did this program before. How do we change it? What do we tweak? What is the feedback? Because we really want our students who are actually enrolled at Duke today to receive the most of the work that we're doing as well.
So just to give us a little bit of a framework in terms of data, we wanted to share some slides with you from our 2023 senior outcomes reporting that we have. We should be getting 2024 data within the next couple of months, which we will have. This is all available on our website as well. So we'll be posting that just so folks can stay abreast of current trends and things like that. But wanted to share with you some of the top industries and fields where students go, with the asterisk on it that this by no means includes all of the many different places where students go after graduation. We have Duke students represented in so many different fields, in a variety of different capacities, but you can see some of the top ones being finance, business and management consulting, computers, IT and technology, obviously healthcare and medicine, engineering, education, science, research. These are some of the main areas where students tend to go. But again, we have students going into every industry imaginable, and applying their skill set in very creative and diverse ways. So we like to share this just so you have a general overview. Um, and at the same time, we don't want to push any kind of misconception that this is like the only places where Duke students go, because we have a variety of creative fields and things like that where students are going. So this is just an overview of the top industries. And then on the same note, the top employers where students tend to go. Again, this is not all inclusive, but you'll recognize a lot of these names, pretty popular. Most folks are familiar with them. We've got the consulting firms, we've got tech in there, we've got finance, banking, those kinds of things. So these are very common places where students go. And we have very strong relationships with these employers. I think it's important to note, though, that you can see on the left side of this slide that students were hired by 654 unique employers. 654. So again, while we can see some themes around the top employers that recruit students and where they go, 654 unique employers is really worth noting. That is a wide variety of different occupations and fields, 26 unique industries and fields. So again, we only had a few represented on the previous slide, but across 26 unique industries and fields, we have students going everywhere. I think it speaks to the good relationship that we have with employers, that we had companies that hired 3 or more Duke students, 56 of them, and 12 that hired 10 or more students. So these organizations really recognize the caliber of Duke students and what they're capable of doing. We are fortunate in the University Career Center that we have a dedicated employer relations team, and they are constantly doing business development. So they are seeking out new relationships with employers and organizations. They are striving for balance so that we're not overrepresented in any one particular industry. You'll see that with our career fairs. We really try to have a wide variety of industries and fields represented. But again, this is just an overview of some data to help you get the landscape of where students tend to go.
And one thing I also like to share is that for many of our students, especially as we think about some of the stereotypes that we have about our Duke community. So, one of the common ones I get is all Duke students want to go in consulting and finance. So, yes, this is a very vocal community. But one thing that I also want to say is that a lot of students that I talk to are also thinking about the fact that they don't know what that is. They hear a lot of people talking about it. Is this something that I should do too? So, of course, I'm picking on one specific industry, but the reason I bring this up is because what we want to really begin to think about, or at least encourage you to think about, is how do we not reinforce that pressure? So, I have a lot of students who say, well, should I be interested in, investment banking because all of my friends are? Well, let's talk a little bit about why you feel that way. Like, what are you thinking about? What are your goals? Because ultimately, they don't know, and they're just here to explore like everyone else. Other questions that we get is, what is a worthy career path? After graduating from Duke University, how do I know I'm successful? And these are just simple, very common questions that we get, and I try to not let the impressiveness of our student community, um, you know, one second, sorry, getting a flash flood warning. Um, I try to not let the impressiveness of our student community to distract me from the fact that they're young people. Just trying to figure it out, just trying to find a role that helps them feel successful and excited in the ways that they want to. So there are a couple key details that we would love to share. So number one on this list is that there are a wealth of resources and services that we provide our student body. In this case, I'll just sort of work my way down this list here, but you'll notice that we have affinity pages. So this includes identity, culture, and honestly unique experiences, like student athletes, for example, international students, for example. So our goal is really to think about curated resources that allow our students to get information that helps them again move through that student to professional pipeline as smoothly as possible. We also have career communities, and we will dig into these a little bit more throughout this training. But the idea is that career communities are essentially umbrellas that provide students with one exposure to the industry that they're interested in, with also complementary content. So there's not just like a business um, career community, it's business, finance, and consulting. So yes, you might be interested in one lane, but you're able to see what else is out there. In addition, we have career development process stages. So this is our framework for how we approach supporting our student community. And then in this case, we'll talk a little bit more about this, but there's 5 key stages. And if you've ever seen our logo, that infinity symbol is intentional because we recognize it's not a linear process. We want to really reach students where they are. So for us, our goal is okay, great. You might be ready to apply. Something might change your opinion. Okay, let's go back a couple steps and then look through how to get you back to where you want to be. And then career advising hours. I'm particularly proud about this because this is one way that we support our student community. So across our team, 914 individual hours for those one-on-one career advising appointments. This doesn't include programming. It doesn't include drop-in hours. Like there's so many things that we offer our community. And I think it's great to just see this one small snippet. The last one I'll raise from this list specifically is student serve. So if you didn't know, and I'll look to Rachel to chime in if I miss anything here, we support undergraduates through postdoctoral students. And it does get a little confusing, even for us. But the idea is that we really want to impress upon you that our reach is so wide ranging in the types of programs we provide really are meant to meet them where they are. So I'll pause and see if Rachel has a chime in, then I'll share a couple thoughts.
Yes, thank you. And believe me, it is a little confusing because of the breakdown of populations that we serve. But we serve all undergraduate students with the exception of the BSN program. They obviously have their own specific track. We serve predominantly research master's students, so master's students that fall under the graduate school. Pratt masters have their own dedicated team. We serve the School of Divinity, so all students within the School of Divinity and all doctoral students. We do have select programs that are available and are open to postdocs, including some of our events. We have an Accelerate to Industry program that is open to postdocs, but we do not provide individual advising to postdocs. So again, we try to be as open to the community as possible. Postdocs have their own director, Molly Starback, who provides their career planning needs as they need that. But it's a wide variety of students that we serve. The outcomes data that we were showing is the undergraduate data because that's the data collection that we're directly involved in. I appreciate Jan asking the question about graduate students. We don't have as much of a role in that collection. So we were focusing on undergraduate, but the graduate school does a phenomenal job of collecting outcomes data for graduate students that fall under their purview. So I have those links in the chat if folks are interested in that. When in doubt, if you have any questions, you can always ask us if a student falls under our purview. But the short answer is if it's a professional school master's program, they're going to have their own team. Just about everybody else would fall under our purview.
And we, of course, can't forget our alumni. So 1 year, up to 1 year out, or 1 year after graduating Duke, they also are available, are able to come to us and work with us. So in terms of other resources we provide, so Rachel mentioned the Accelerate to Industry. Of course, we have 9 all campus career fairs throughout the academic year. We have, of course, like tailored panels, programming, et cetera, that we do honestly on a rolling scale. So I would really encourage you to keep an eye out for that. Some other notable mentions that I think really speak to these guiding posts that we were talking about is we offer what is called Backstage Pass, which gives students who are first time members of the career fair a chance to tour the space, get some of those, cobwebs off, get more comfortable, ask questions. And then we also have employers who show up early to give them real experience, just meeting employers, practicing the pitch, practicing the questions, and just getting a sense of what would it feel like before all the hustle and bustle in the full gates are open. Another one is the Global Career Week. So this was one that was new to our center as of last February, but our colleague Hal Matthews worked with a lot of our campus partners to create one of the coolest micro conferences I've seen in a long time. Essentially, we're trying to think about how to support students as they want to enhance their career readiness opportunities, but also explore, okay, if I wanted to remain in the States, what are my opportunities? What are Duke specific opportunities to work abroad, et cetera? So there's so much that we do, and we could talk all day about it, but I think that the goal here is really just to let you know that we're really trying dynamic ways to make sure our students have everything that they need. So this slide is pretty straightforward. This is our big three. If you like basketball, you'll understand the reference. I sort of say it in regular language. If you walk away with nothing, these are the things that we want you to just hold on to and remember, because this is how we approach the work and the best ways for students to get plugged in. So number one, the Career Hub. We'll talk a little bit more about it, but it's our central HQ. It's our website, but there's so many avenues, so many resources that we provide there. So if you don't know that term, it would be harder to have some of these career conversations. Another one is Handshake. This one is actually more important for students to know, but of course, as advisors, student support members, this is really helpful. Handshake is a extension of the Career Hub, but the beauty of this website is that it gives students a chance to schedule individual appointments, um, you know, sign up for events, uh, you know, do research on employers, search for jobs, internships, etc. And then our last one is blogs and resources. So I mentioned our career communities. I mentioned our affinity pages. So blogs and resources are very important because in those pages, it's tailored to that experience, those nuanced challenges, opportunities, successes. As resources, these are those I was going to say stagnant, but that's not true because we're always updating. But I'll say more permanent repositories of information. Think a resume guide, think cover letter information, benefits, how to navigate benefits, etc. All right. So I talked a lot. So in this case, we know that we could talk this entire time and, training well done. But our goal is really to provide an opportunity for some hands-on learning. So we're going to play a little game. In this case, we call it the Career Hub Demo. Classy, very unique name. The goal is that you'll have 45 seconds to locate the item that we put on the screen, starting with the Career Hub, of course. We ask, and I'm going to say it twice, we ask that you avoid using Google for this challenge. Again, we ask that you avoid using Google. We know that you can Google it, but our goal is to get you aware of how to navigate our website. And then last but not least, when you find a solution, just raise your virtual hand and let us know. We will be asking that you unmute if you can, and share how you got to that destination as well. So any questions? Any questions? All right, so we're all pros again. We're starting at the Career Hub page. Feel free to get that loaded up, and we'll jump in. All right, first on the list, find the career development process page. Again, when you find it, raise your virtual hand. All right, we have one person. Oh, okay. Courtney, do you want to unmute and tell us how you got to where you are?
Yes, from the general homepage, there are a bar of drop-down lists, and selected the career development process page from that.
Awesome. So you'll notice that we have our difficulty levels listed. We consider this one to be easy, not because of anything other than the fact that it's pretty straightforward. So you'll notice Career Hub and then Career Development Process. Boom, done. So Rachel, feel free to chime in on this, but what I'll say here is that again, it's not a linear process, and then we have a lot of key information. So we'll use the know yourself. This is step one, typically for many students, and what it does is, of course, we have reflective questions, which I think as advisors, this could be useful to you all, and then we also have suggested activities. So again, this is the I don't know where to start. The career development process could be a great way to assess where the student actually is in their process. All right.
Yeah, agreed. And I really like to use this with students to show them the entirety of the career development process and ask them where they feel like they are right now. And use that kind of as a starting point, like a little self-assessment. So if we go through each of these areas, where do you feel like you are right now in your own journey? Knowing that, as Jared said, it's not linear. So a student may move to, focus and prepare, and have some kind of realization and then move back to exploration. And that's totally fine. But we do want to emphasize that this is a lifelong process. This is something that students are going to go through multiple times throughout their career. So we're really trying to build skills. That's what we're hoping for. I say all the time that we are the how people, not the what people. We're not going to tell a student what to do, but we're going to help them develop a strategy that works for them, and build skills so that they can do this process. They can work through it on their own.
One second. There we go. Next stage, find the faculty and staff resource audience page. Nice. Um, could we have Julia, do you want to walk us through how you got to where you are?
Sure. I went from the main page. I went over to who we serve and down to audiences and over to faculty and staff.
Easy, right? Okay, so this one is a medium. So I like how quickly we're finding our answer. So again, I like to just start at the homepage just for demonstration's sake. But again, who we serve, audience, faculty, and staff. So why is this helpful for you all to know? We built a curated um, page for all of you. We know that you're having these career conversations. We understand that students are asking you questions. So we wanted to make this process as easy for you as possible. In this case, you'll notice we have three beautiful columns that highlight some of the key things we hear from faculty and staff when they're supporting our students. So of course we have that impact report that Rachel was alluding to. If you're like, what does the Career Center do? Beautiful. Here's a great place to start. And then even students we serve, if you're thinking about, does this student need to go to the main Career Center or not? I'm going to keep going. Naturally, we also have blogs and resources. This is a great example of resources that we think is important for staff and faculty to be aware of. And then we have resources here as well. So of course, this isn't the only place to reference a lot of ideas, but this is a great place to start if you're not sure where to go. All right, round 3. Find the resume guide resource page. All right, that one took a little while. Okay, so Courtney, do you want to walk us through it?
Yes, from the homepage, from the top selection options, I click the career readiness resources and scroll down to the resume guide and selected that, and it took me to the resume guide page.
Awesome. So this one is a medium because there are multiple ways to get to this resource. So first I'll highlight Courtney's strategy which was career readiness resources. Scroll down, resume guide. So that's a great way to do it. One additional way, there's tons of other ways. One additional way, you can see what I like to search. Resume guide. From there, here's why it's helpful. This is our search bar, just to say it out loud. In this case, you have all. You'll notice that it feeds from a lot of the different categories hosted on our site. So news and articles doesn't always mean it's from the Career Center. We have outside partners, employers, guests who can also publish articles and news on our website. But if you go to resources, this is our curated content. So when you click on resume guide, you know, again, that it comes from the main Career Center. And then, of course, you can kind of peruse through as you need to. All right, final leg. Let's see if we can get a new winner here. So find an advisor to schedule an appointment. This is a hard level challenge. Yeah, so this one, I'll start a 30-second timer here. We have about 15 seconds left. Oh, Julia, do you want to walk us through your strategy?
Sure. How did I do that? Hold on. I went to career communities and then selected education, government, nonprofit, and policy, just as a kind of pathway to go. And then I scrolled down and there's a link to talk with an advisor, Rachel.
You said which community? Oh, education, right? And then you scroll down.
Yep. And then it says talk with an advisor and it said you can meet Rachel.
Awesome. I like that. I like that strategy. You can see why we rank this as hard. Sarah, did you try it a different way?
I actually went into the resources and ended up going down to schedule an advising appointment with Handshake, but that's with the Handshake community, right?
Yes. So that is another way to do it. So just to be clear, you just looked up Handshake in this case, or found the Handshake
Well, I went
resource?
to career resources and then I went down, dropped to the bottom of the page, and they had a career advising
Yeah. Awesome.
space right there. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
So,
So
sorry, just let me ask a quick question on
Mhm.
that. You know, this is the hardest task, but shouldn't it be easier?
So I appreciate that question. It's actually a trick question.
Okay.
The hard designation is actually because staff can't get to this page.
Oh.
So yeah, so actually you all don't have access to Handshake. So we wanted to just remind you that in this case, the goal would be to get the student to this page or one of our supplemental pages and help them work through Handshake. So
Gotcha.
yes, you can scroll down this way, schedule an appointment in Handshake. Hopefully I'm logged in. If I'm not, beautiful. So I'm gonna quickly change. So this is what our students see.
Ah,
So again, you can see that there's a lot of information. You got jobs, events, people, employers, etc. But what we want people to know is like, of course, this is a great way for them to see what's going on. Employers host events, of course. Um, you know, uh, career fairs and things would be listed here. You also have job offers, internships, etc. They have to go to that Duke University Career Center page. From there, they can go to appointments and schedule it straight. It's pretty straightforward from there. But I just like to let folks know that this is the way to do it. There is no other way. Um, upcoming career fairs, etc. So this is a great way for students to be plugged in. So if they don't have a Handshake account, give them a nudge and then really encourage them to create that account. The last thing I'll say about our page is that you can scroll down to the bottom. And this is more of a bonus tip for our students. You can click through here and see all of our team members because we have bios. I'll share myself in this case. We have bios that talks a little bit about our backgrounds, the types of work we want to do with students, and sometimes, clearly not for me, sometimes there's a meet with this advisor that will then link them to Handshake as well. So in this case, Handshake is more important, but that's a great way for them to see who our team members are as well.
And just if I can add on to that, because we get this question a lot of should I be sending students to a particular advisor? And the answer to that is it really doesn't matter. We have advisors who oversee designated career communities. So that's kind of their, in terms of their access to that content, they spend a little bit more time researching the fields associated with those industries, trends, things like that. But all of our advisors are cross-trained. So we do this every semester where community managers train the rest of the advising team on those trends, share resources that might be important, that kind of thing. So a student, we really encourage them to find an advisor whose schedule works best for them. Or go through and look at their bios, like Jared just pointed out, and see if somebody has a background that really lends itself well to the type of individual that they'd like to connect with. But all advisors are trained to work across industries and fields, graduate and undergraduate. So we really encourage students to schedule with whoever it works best for them.
All right. So any other quick questions before we move forward? Okay, I'll keep that.
Oh, if I can just add one more thing too. I shared this with the previous training too, but just a little way to try to remember the difference between Career Hub and Handshake. Career Hub is kind of the repository for a lot of content and information. So it's very informational in nature. I make the distinction with students if they're unfamiliar with Handshake, like think about Handshake as an action, right? The action of shaking someone's hand. So going to Handshake is the place to do things, to sign up for an advising appointment, to register for an event, to apply for a job or an internship, things like that. It's more of the actional space between the two. So Career Hub, go to get information, to learn, to see upcoming events, things like that. Handshake is the place to go to do things, to sign up, schedule an advising appointment, that kind of thing. So they work together. The content, especially upcoming events, jobs, and internships that you'll see on Career Hub, those are fed from Handshake. So they have, you know, a connection between the two. But just so students understand the difference is both sites are important to use.
And I'm just gonna put this out there so y'all hold me accountable to showing this. But events, again, they are fed from Handshake, so you can see what events are out there, especially if you're looking at career communities and it's labeled. So if you're looking at the specific career community, they're labeled that are relevant to that industry as well. So there is a lot of crossover there too. Okay. So we would be remiss if we didn't at least shout out our Career Influencer Network. I imagine that some of you already are. There are so many folks in our community who have already a part of this great network. Just quick thoughts on it. Number one is that you can nominate yourself or a colleague. In this way, you will be featured on our website as someone who is excited, interested, prepared to have career-related conversations with our students. Again, we know that you're doing it already. The fact that you're here tells us enough. But if you want to be added to this network so students can actively consider you when they're like, looking for someone on, in the larger campus community to talk with, this is a great way to do that. We also provide training. There's opportunities to get more involved with our center if you'd like to, and just really continue to amplify the great work that you all are doing to support our students. Because again, we all are doing the same thing, which is helping our students move from student to professional and be as successful as possible. This slide is just one to just say out loud, we'd love your feedback. Sometime today, I can't remember exactly when we scheduled it, you will be receiving a survey and we ask that you complete it. Feel free to share any thoughts, comments, questions with us because this will really help us develop resources for that faculty and staff page. And of course, anything that we can share with you all as attendees of our training, we would love to. All right, so questions. What could we elaborate on? Anything that confused you that you think would be helpful to talk about before we break for the International Student Support session in a few minutes?
One thing I'll just add too is we are always happy to have conversations with people about how best to collaborate and support their students. So we scaled back a couple years ago from offering kind of general programming. And some of you might be able to relate. Attendance numbers weren't quite there. It was difficult to get students to come. So we found that it was much more effective to partner with student organizations, faculty, staff, existing programming, orientations, those kinds of things. So if you are open to it and you would like to work with the Career Center and offer something, a program, a workshop for students that you engage with, we love having those conversations. So please reach out. We can brainstorm some ideas of what might be most helpful, what kinds of things you're thinking your students might need. But we're very open to those conversations, or just being consultants in a way of like, we're looking to hold this. What suggestions would you have? So please consider us as thought partners, as sounding boards, as collaborators. We're always happy to be a part of those conversations and see how we can assist.
And I'll chime in with another quick thought, which is we hope that you don't plan to become an expert. In this case, we're not asking you to replace us. We are, of course, trying to honor the great work that you're doing and sort of loop you into a lot of the things going on with us. But in this case, again, just reach out to us. Don't be afraid to just pick up the phone and make the call, shoot the email, send the Teams message, because the style of work that we do is if we don't know, we'll find someone who does. And we don't want students to feel like they're just being jostled around, going to 17 different people to find out that, you know, the answer was right there on the website all along. So whatever we can do to make our students' process a little bit easier, make your lives easier, we'd like to. So just again, hold that in mind as well as you move forward in the next year or so. So in this case, I'll say that no questions doesn't mean we did a poor job. I think that means we did great. We answered everything that you had. We didn't confuse you in the process. So I will quickly put up some information. In this case, come visit us. We are in the Bryan Center and we love to have visitors. If you need a reference point, we're right next to McDonald's. So when you get your small fry, just pop on over and say hello. Outside of that, you can see our email, and we do have social media accounts. So if you're on Instagram, YouTube, etc., like feel free to look us up and give us a follow as well. And thank you all for joining us.
Thank you all so much for being here. Really appreciate it.